know this much about sourdough. And so she asked me to, and I thought, you know, I need to practice, so I practiced. So we've got more bread than, so you gotta take a half a loaf home with you tonight if we don't eat it all. So, because my freezer was just bursting. Okay, I have to tell you a story about my journey with, not sourdough, but with making bread. My mother was a fantastic bread maker, of course. And she would make it in this giant roaster, and it was 4 loaves, and then she would bake it in this wood stove. And then my dad would, when it was done, he would dump it out and it would buzz onto the table, and he would take the first loaf and break it while it's just steaming, hand it out to all of us kids with butter and honey available, and we just, that was how we ate bread. So she was a fantastic bread maker. But when we got married, it was in the day when you're supposed to cook with wheat. You know, you've got to cook with wheat, and it was the hard red wheat. So I picked him up from school one day, and I had this loaf of bread. I was so proud of it. He picked it up and he goes, "We have enough of these, we could build a house." So on the way home from school, we stopped at the grocery store, and he bought whole milk, apples, and honey. We went home, and that was my first experience with whole wheat bread and milk, with apples and honey, and it was divine. So we had a use for that heavy, heavy bread, but that's just crazy. But I've learned to do a little better. The white wheat has been a miracle wheat. I love it. So anyway, I don't know hardly anything about sourdough other than it's good for your gut. That's why I do it, because it's good for our gut. I went online to YouTube, and there are 1 million sourdough videos. So if you don't know how to make sourdough bread, you just need to go to YouTube, and they'll have you show you all kinds of ways. But tonight I would like all of you who have made it, tried it, failed, done well, all of your experience, just chip in, just talk about it. Let's share with each other, and I have discovered that if you want to make with a really pretty crumb, they call it crumb when it's really open, you can't really do that with a lot of heavy grains. I mean, it just doesn't do it. So my first experiment was with this last week with cranberry and walnut, and it's as heavy as, well, heavy, but it's good. It tastes good, but it's wheat and kamut. That's what I did it. And I also have some handouts here if anybody is interested at the end. This is sage and plow in American fork. Does anybody know? I mean, you know about them, okay. They do have just about any grain you can imagine. They have a blend that is GMO free. I mean, it's non-GMO. It's a white blend of flour. And they also have einkorn, but it's not available right now. So, but I've got this information, so you're welcome to take this. She, the gal that runs it, Rebecca Wadsworth, would like to deliver down here. If there's anyone interested in maybe receiving or taking on a project like that, she would love to be able to deliver down here, which would be nice, because they have so much. If you've been in their store, it was the old Cal Ranch, I think. So, and it's full. It's full. They have just about everything. So anyway, take advantage of that. Janae Krebs made some bread. This is her seeded bread, and I am going to send this around, and her recipe is on the back. I have got, well, Kyle Christensen sent me his whole series of sourdough recipes. So but they're all in color. And so what I want to do is have you put your name and your email down here, and I will send you all of these recipes if you're interested. So just do that, and then you don't have to worry about it tonight. What else? Oh, how many of you have used Kyle Christensen's Czechoslovakian start?
His what?
His 1912 starter. You have it? Who else has it? I have 14 packets here. And they're free as long as you don't resell them. He'll let you have them. So I'm gonna pass this around, just one per family, and hopefully there's enough for everyone who has not got it. I already have it. I already have his start. So it's good. It's a good start. So he has offered that. And he also has a really cool recipe, and it's not in that, for just a no-knead quick loaf of bread, sourdough. And that's what's in here right now. But I don't have his permission to share that, but it's in his book. I don't know if you have this book. It has a really super granola recipe in here. And he's got a lot of great recipes in this book. And this is the older one. He has a newer version. So, but it's Kyle Christensen's Healing at Home. So I encourage you to get that from him. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you really quickly what I've discovered that I like. This is absolutely essential for me. It is called a Cambro, and this has got Kyle Christensen's dough in it. But what I love about this is I can mix it, and I don't have to have it on my table. A bowl is fine, but this is so much nicer because you can turn it and mix and turn and mix. And so it's called a Cambro. My daughter turned me on to that, and you can see when your dough gets double in size. Really easy.
How do you spell it?
Cambro. You can get them on Amazon. I learned on YouTube that rice flour is really handy to finish your bread, to do the tension, creating the tension. It's a really super fine flour, and I didn't have any. So I ground some rice, and it works beautifully. So don't go buy rice flour. Just grind the rice that you're not eating because it's not good for you, the white rice.
After it's been cooked or
No,
before?
this is just before it's cooked. You just put it in your wheat grinder. Or, I have a little coffee grinder, the little thing that's really handy. But anyway, rice flour is really good to finish. Anybody had experience with it? But I just discovered it. Did everybody get a packet? Did anybody not get one that wants one? Okay. I like my Danish dough hook. I love that, but this works just as well. So, I'm from Denmark, so I had to have a Danish dough hook. It is really cool though, it mixes really well. I don't know how they did it, but it works really well, so I highly recommend that. My daughter turned me on to the Weck jars. I like these better than having my sourdough in a screw-on lid because it gets all gunky. And this is a liter, and this is a half liter, and they're really cool.
What are they called?
Weck, W-E-C-K jar. And the lids just come on and off, and they're just super easy. This one is if you're gonna do like 2 loaves, you want the larger one, because if you're setting your starter out overnight, if you do the smaller one, you have it all down the side and all over your mat. Yeah, so depending on if you're gonna do 2 loaves or 1 loaf, is what you'd have the different
You
one.
get those on Amazon too.
And you can get those on Amazon too.
For sure.
And one thing about your starter, if
What
you
they
do
call
not,
again?
it's a Weck jar.
W-E-C-K.
W-E-C-K. You can come up and look at this when I'm done. A scale that has grams and ounces. Super handy, because when you're adding, and that's one of the reasons why I like this, because I add my water, I put my starter, mix it up, but I clear it every time, because if you don't, oh, wait a minute. So you clear it. And then you add your flour, your salt, whatever. I think that's it. Oh, and I have this mat. I like the mat. It's what you do for seeds, but this will get your starter to about 77 degrees. It just seems to keep it going better. Do you want to come up closer?
No, it's not me, it's for the video.
Oh, for the video. Well, I'm not worried about the video.
I am if I wanna listen to it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, anyway, the mat is handy, but it isn't necessary. I like a cool house at night, so if I'm doing it
Boy,
overnight.
does he ever.
Like a cool house at night. So anyway, and this is just stuff I scraped off the Cambro. I let it dry. If you want to save or preserve your starter, you just leave it inside once you've taken your dough out, and then you scrape it off, put it in a bag, stick it in the freezer, and you've saved it.
What size Cambro is that?
Oh, I think I have a small one. This is a 6 liter, 6 quart. So, but it's, anyway, any questions, thoughts? Yes.
They do sell those at the big Costco in downtown Salt Lake, the one that has the restaurant supply.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
Good.
so they have
good.
a couple of different sizes.
Oh, that's awesome. So Costco, Salt Lake has them.
The big one is commercial.
Yes.
Well, no, they have a smaller one like that too.
Oh, the big Costco, you mean?
Yeah, the big Costco, right, that has the restaurant supply.
That has cayenne and things like that. So anything else? Anybody, come on, start sharing your thoughts, your frustrations.
Your heat pad, you can also get that as a full proof box,
What?
a proof box.
Yes, yes.
It has a top on it, and you set the temperature, and regardless of how warm or cold your house is,
That's nice.
it stays at 70, 75, 80, whatever you set it at, and you can proof your bread and replicate
Yes,
every single time.
And
that's
what is it
awesome.
you're calling it?
Proof box.
Proof box. Do you wanna stand up and maybe come up and,
It's
It's
exactly
just-
what you have,
but it's,
but it's got sides in the top and a bottom. They're insulated.
so could we put a box on this?
You could, on Amazon, they're anywhere from 30 to 70 bucks.
Okay, so if you buy the kit.
You buy the kit, it zips the top, it goes in there, you can put 2 of your Banneton baskets inside, or it will hold that large, and you can do it all inside there. You can control the temperature, and you're not playing with charts, oh, it was 72 degrees today, and it was 78 degrees yesterday, and
Yeah, this is pretty good.
You know,
So-
Fern, my
Yes.
oven has a proofing setting.
Oh, that's
I don't know
nice.
how,
they
all it is
do.
the light, actually, but I don't know how.
These are cheap to run.
The proof setting works. I've tried it. You just set it
Yeah.
on proof and it just.
I don't have a proof setting.
I do.
That's awesome.
New stove, Ken.
You know, I have stuck it in my oven because you've got a pilot light in there and it's warmer than it is out in the room, so, yes.
How well does it freeze and then come back?
What?
Sourdough bread.
Well, I have some that's frozen. I'll let you try it.
It freezes very well. It freezes very well.
It
But you don't
freezes.
want it to, I wouldn't keep it in the freezer for 6 months, or I wouldn't go longer than 6 months, or you just,
Are we talking about the bread or
The
are we
bread.
talking about a starter?
Talking
The
about
bread.
the actual bread.
the bread. You gotta rotate
No,
it.
if, yeah, I like keep 4 to 6 loaves on the go and
Yes.
rotate them out, but
That's it.
that's what I'm wondering, yeah.
Yeah, you could do that.
Very
Yeah, they do good, they do fine.
Yeah, cause
Very
we don't,
good. We slice
we
it.
don't eat a ton of bread,
We
and so when you're
pre-slice
making
it,
a
put it in
bunch.
there, you take up 2-3 slices and it works
Oh, I've done
great.
that too, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Pre-slice it before you put it in there. And then just stick it in your freezer and then pop them off with a knife, yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Yes.
How do you keep your start alive?
Well, this is the coolest thing Brother Christensen, or should I call him Dr. Christensen, he feeds his twice a week. He feeds his starter twice a week, but he's got a large family and they make pancakes and he makes all kinds of things, pretzels, and you'll see the recipes that he does. But I discovered something. My daughter showed me how to do a certain recipe, and she she said, Mom, you don't have to feed your starter several times a week. So I tested it. My starter will sit in the back of my refrigerator until I want to use it. And then that night, I will take out 3-4 tablespoons, put in my weck jar with a cup of flour and a cup of water, sit it on my mat, and go to bed. In the morning, I've got a nice bubbly start. And one of the things you do to test to see if your start is ready is you take a glass of water, you take maybe a teaspoon of starch, and you put it in the water, and if it floats, it's ready to go. If it sinks, you gotta put more flour and water in it and wait another 8 hours. But that testing is so cool, because then it's exciting. Oh, good, I can start my bread. But I had it go, just dive to the bottom of the glass of water because I did something wrong. But I have had my start in my fridge for well over a month, and it just will just revive. So you can play with it, or you can just leave it alone. But this is 1912, I just leave it alone. Yes.
I keep mine in my fridge too. I started doing sourdough in 2020, like a lot of people did. And the thing I'm careful about is if it's been a month or two, it usually forms some alcohol on top.
It does.
So I pour that off.
Yes.
And then the other thing I learned about start, I used to make it like really loose. I mean, not real liquidy, but more like pancake batter. But now I make it even thicker, and so it holds its rise longer. So like when you feed it, if you're not going to get to something till that night, it holds its rise really good. The start does. Yeah.
So would you say you add a couple of tablespoons more flour, or how? What's
pretty
your ratio?
stiff. It's almost. I don't weigh. I don't do anything. It's just it takes a good stir.
Okay.
So yeah, it's thicker than pancake batter, but not quite as much as bread dough.
There you go.
And then they say that also helps the start when you put it in the fridge, because it's got more flour to feed off of in the fridge, even though it's kind of hibernating.
Yes. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
So I asked two ladies the other day at the party about start, and you know, I have this one recipe that I can't get away from, but I can never make it form a loaf. It just plops in, it rises, but it's still doughy. Anyway, they said they don't worry about how much water and flour to add to your starter to feed it, they just pour some in. But when you go to measure your flour and water, do you always use a scale?
When I do it for the bread, I find that makes my bread
More
come out
consistent.
better than if I use cups, you know. So I like to go by the grams. That's for me. I just discovered that I like somebody giving me a recipe that has the grams in it, and
So how many grams of flour and how many?
it depends on the recipe. 2 loaves, there's a recipe that I have that's on the back of there, and it makes 2 loaves like this, and it's 1,000 grams of flour, and what is it, 700 and something grams of, no, that's too much water, but it's 1,000 grams of flour, and you decide. I use kamut and wheat, and then I finish it with white. So it might be like 400 kamut, 400 wheat, and 200 of a flour blend. But I'm just learning myself, and I'd love to have the big rabbit ears and the big huge holes in my bread, and it's tasty. I made one for Ken, and he loved it. He couldn't leave it
So
alone.
why do you use the kamut?
It
Why do
was
you
so
use
good.
the kamut? Why don't you just use all?
Well, kamut, I like kamut. Kamut's an old ancient grain, and it's a healthy grain, and in fact, I'd like to try it with spelt. How many of you have experimented with other flours? What have you used? What have you used, Lizanne?
Mostly I've tried kamut.
Have you tried
Speak up louder. Just kamut and red turkey.
red turkey?
Yeah.
Okay. How about you?
Red turkey.
Just all the wheat, hard white. I made the mistake of using soft white one time, and it
That's a
didn't hold a
pastry.
crumb at all, so.
Okay,
doesn't
so,
have enough
so would that be
pastry.
good for like a sandwich bread?
So, no, it's
No.
not good for bread, it works fine for English muffins, it works
Okay.
fine for tortillas,
Or
But not-
pastry.
yeah.
And you're talking about the white,
So there's soft and hard white,
and hard
yeah.
white, so soft white, no for the bread.
Doesn't
You
have
got
enough
that?
gluten.
It doesn't
Less
have enough
gluten.
gluten.
Okay.
Soft.
That's good to know. That's
Your
good.
Einkorn has less gluten too.
Einkorn, yes. I did tell you, Sage and Plow's out of Einkorn right now, but they do have it, they do carry it. So,
So when you said wheat,
it's
Wheat,
white, it was
okay.
white wheat, hard white wheat.
so we don't use red wheat in this ever?
Well,
I've used red.
yeah,
before.
red
Do
wheat,
whatever.
red wheat's great, but like I said, you know, if
Okay,
you use it all red wheat, then you could build a house with them.
I've done that before too.
But it's good, it's good bread, and, I just think it's a good idea to just play with it and experiment with it. I learned on YouTube, I went to see a lot of recipes, and I'm surprised how many sourdough recipes have yeast in them.
Mhm.
Really?
And they just, the recipe, sourdough starter, and it has yeast, and I'm thinking, why?
I thought that's why you used the starter.
Exactly. And my son brought us a couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago from Heber Valley. Apparently there is this great bakery down there, and he brought us this loaf, a $12 loaf of
Well, that's good.
of sourdough bread. So I texted him and I said, you've gotta go ask them if they use, because this is a bakery. They make lots of bread. So I said, I want you to find out if they use yeast in their sourdough bread. And if sourdough bread is just sourdough because they want the sour taste, but they're making it on a mass scale, maybe they're using yeast so they can do more. I don't know. Takes a long time to make a loaf of bread. How many hours? It's almost 2 days.
Less than 8.
12 to 15 hours, I think. And you can proof in the refrigerator, which I've discovered with some of the bread is I use the Banneton basket, and you just put some of your rice flour in there, and you do your bowl, as they call it, and I went online to learn how to do that because I had no idea what they did to make that stretch. They want the top of the bread to have tension, and so you have some flour, not a lot, and you bring it toward you, and it just rolls that front underneath, which makes the top of the bread more tension. So that's what you want to do. And then you plop it in your little bowl and you stick it in the refrigerator for, you can do it for up to 48 hours. They call it a retard rise, is that what I've, yes.
Cold retard.
Cold retard rise. And so if you can't bake your bread for a couple of days, you can, and it'll just slowly rise. And then just when your oven's ready, then you'll plop it in your oven. Well, not with your Banneton basket. You take out your, and I did an experiment with these and these, because my daughter gave me a package of these. They're so convenient, but it doesn't make any difference. I thought, because I was having really dark bottoms in my bread, and online they said to put a pizza stone underneath your Dutch ovens, and you would have less dark bottom. So I experimented with that, and I had less dark bottom. So I thought, well, maybe it's absorbing the heat. That must be why. Because my bread, I use an actual Dutch oven, and I use a Pioneer Woman Dutch oven. So I don't know. What do you guys use? Any suggestions about the kind of ovens that you use? Is there any?
Use a cookie sheet too,
And a cookie sheet?
underneath your.
Oh, so that would work as well. So is it to absorb the heat?
Yeah, to just keep it from burning.
Keep it from burning. Well,
And this is the Dutch oven in your oven?
in the oven.
Okay.
And then you put a
Yes.
cookie sheet
Do
under
you,
it.
preheat your, like, get it hot, your Dutch oven first?
Yeah, I go to 475, me personally. I put the ovens in, and I heat them to 475, and then I let them heat for 30 minutes before I do anything. Then I take them out, and I take the Banneton basket out, and then you'll just go like that, and it just flops out. And so then you've got your loaf here, so then you can do your scoring, and I use a razor blade to score it, and I never get a real cool rabbit ear, but I still score it. I put pretty things in it, you know, you can have fun with it. But, and then you plop that down inside the Dutch oven. Hot Dutch oven. And you put the lid on, and then I cook it for 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the recipe. And then I open the oven and take the lids off, because these have to be with the lids on, because you want that steam to work. And so then you'll take off the lid. And
Say again how long you could bake it?
one recipe calls for 20 minutes, one calls for 30 minutes. So it's usually 20 minutes, and then I take off the lid, and then for 15 minutes longer, and then they just get a nice brown top. Yes.
I only heat mine for about 10 minutes, and my
Okay.
bottoms are never too dark. So maybe
Maybe
try
I'm
less,
heating it too long.
Maybe you try heating it less. I don't know what everyone else's experiences are, but.
But that's a good, and this is the whole idea, is to try, to experiment.
I did 2 loaves side by side in Dutch ovens. One was preheated and one was cold. No difference.
No difference.
Okay. What
Really?
I have found, ovens are different because the oven I have now in the cabin, it has the heating element above, nothing below, and one in the back. So the pizza stone has absolutely no value whatsoever. So I've gone to rock salt in the bottom, and that gives you an air barrier. You put your parchment on top of that,
Really?
and I've never burned a loaf.
Wait a minute,
Rock salt on
Rock
the
salt.
bottom.
on a cookie sheet?
No,
No, in your
in the
Dutch
oven.
Oh, in your.
Inside the bottom of the Dutch oven,
Rock
pour
salt.
rock salt in the bottom of it, and it spaces your parchment about that far above, and it will not burn
But then you put your parchment
on top
On
of that.
top.
and
So-
then the bread.
So you don't.
So you've got your bread,
Dutch oven with the
and you
I've
put it down in the
stopped
Dutch
using
oven,
Dutch
it
oven.
has
I don't
rock
feel I
salt
need
at
to
the
run the
bottom.
oven for another hour. I cook mine for 30 minutes, rotate it in the Dutch oven, cook it 30 more minutes, lid on, they come out. I can show you pictures, I should have brought you a loaf, but
Oh,
they're
you should have brought a loaf of bread.
golden brown, no burn, no nothing.
We'll wait.
Yes.
So those are things I've learned, that your oven, all ovens are different.
They are, and that is a huge thing on YouTube, is you've gotta know your oven, because there's a hydration thing that you've gotta be worried about too.
So we've gone to very low hydration, we're down about 65%.
Okay,
And my recipe start to finish, I can do in one day.
well, do you have your recipe with you?
I can send it to you, but we
Would
cheat.
you?
We cheat,
That's okay, cheating is good
okay?
in
That's like I
making
said,
bread.
you say there's 10,000 ways to make.
Yes.
There
And if
is.
you
There is.
just get your head exploded by looking for 10,000 different ways, you're never gonna make bread.
No,
Bricks are okay
You
too,
won't.
because they taste good, the butter doesn't run through.
that's true. That's true.
So those are the ones you soak in olive oil and
Make croutons.
balsamic
And
vinegar.
make croutons.
And we freeze dried it and ground it, and now it goes in meatloaf and whatever else, so
Awesome.
there is no wasted bread. And if it's overproof, poke a bunch of holes in it, lay it out flat, make focaccia.
There you go.
Um,
So will you send me your recipe?
yeah, be happy
You'll
to.
share it, and then I will include it with everybody who wants a recipe.
And starter can be so much easier. You don't have to babysit it.
Well, that's why I like putting it in my fridge and just
We
forgetting
keep it
about
in the
it.
fridge, get down to that much, you take 100 grams off the top, I put 100 grams combination of water flour back into it, more flour than water, put it in the fridge,
More flour than
and
water.
once a week,
That makes sense.
and we make bread, and it's just fine. Take that out, add it in warm water, mix it up, let it grow right there on the counter. Within a couple of hours, you've got full bubbly doubled starter, and you're ready to go.
That's awesome.
Okay, tell us your name again.
Kim, where?
So when you send his, you'll tell,
I will
Put
send
his
his
name on it.
recipe. I will send his recipe
but
with
you'll,
those.
but you'll put his name on it. So
He
It's
will put
actually-
his name on
It's
it,
actually
yes.
from Emily Sadler, who's up in Fairview.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Rooted Emily Sadler. I went to one of her classes, and I
So-
couldn't make her recipe work.
You couldn't,
I
and then
couldn't,
you
I mean,
kept.
I was making bricks, and it's like, I have no use for them, so we figured, and then I adjusted it and made the changes and said, okay, this
This
is,
is great.
got it down from the 2 days overnight, week-long process to about 10 o'clock in the morning, throw it in the mixer, actually
You do use a mixer.
use a mixer, mix it up, let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes, run it again for 5 minutes, let it sit 10. Those are your stretch and folds, they're all done.
Stretching and folding in a mixer.
And so it's
Good.
all done, you put it in your proof box, you let it proof, and when it doubles inside, you can throw it in the oven,
There you go.
or you can throw it in the freezer to slow it down so it's easier to score. Or you can put it in the fridge overnight and it'll grow a little bit more. So-
Okay,
How
so
much
will you
rocks-
put your name on the recipe, cause they're gonna wanna know.
Yeah, sure,
How much rock salt in the bottom?
quarter of an inch, just one layer of, just the coarse ice cream salt, whatever. It's bigger than kosher, it's the rock salt,
It's
it's
the
ice
big
cream
stuff,
salt.
it's like the ice cream
So it's
maker
thick
salt.
it's thick granular. It's
Yes,
not-
yes,
Yeah, it's big grains, it's, quarter inch, half inch, big chunks.
Gravel.
Yeah, gravel,
Great.
and it
Gotta
will
try
not
it out.
melt. And when people freak out because it turns black, it's because some of the good stuff you put in the loaf squirt out and get in there. You didn't burn salt, cause salt doesn't burn,
Do you reuse
That's
it?
awesome.
all the time.
So you just dump it in
Yeah,
there?
if it gets black and gooey with something
Doesn't
squirted out of a loaf, scrape that part out.
It's like pie beans.
Yeah.
Just use them over and over and over.
So what about for
When you said mixer,
altitude,
you talking
do you
about a
make any
blender or a-
changes?
No.
The big KitchenAid mixer.
I've never, from a
Gotcha.
Could you
recipe, I've
repeat your
never.
question?
She wanted to know if altitude had made any difference in their bread, and I've never changed a bread recipe ever in my life when we've changed altitudes. So, I'd say no.
It's not like cake.
Yeah, it's not like cake. Any other questions or comments,
This
failures,
sourdough is really good
successes?
for you and
What
it's,
is it?
it's really good
Yeah.
for you and it's really forgiving. I mean, even if
is.
it doesn't turn out beautiful, it tastes really
It
good.
tastes good.
No matter what.
And I've
So-
had her bread, and it's good.
No,
She was on a kick, I should say, I
This
guess.
this is my trial.
Well, and she would
My
give me her
experiment.
trial and errors, and I loved it, it was delicious.
A lot of it didn't get really big and stuff, but it tasted just as good as if it had big holes.
It's excellent.
And it's super good for you.
It's slow on the glycemic index when you eat it too. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
spike the blood sugar
It
in
doesn't spike,
sourdough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our daughter, we have two daughters that are gluten intolerant. And in fact, they went to Greece with our son, and they absolutely loved it over there because they could eat just about anything they wanted. But we, on the other hand, have to be so careful. And because of that, then Sage and Plow, you can get the flour, and you can get the the grain kernels. So you can grind your own, or you can have it already ground. I was looking for barley malted barley, and she didn't have any, but she had some malted barley flour, so I grabbed that because I have a recipe and it's on the back of that. But I got off and I haven't made it yet because I want to find the actual malted barley, which is sprouted barley, and then it's dried and then you just put it in your bread. So I haven't tried that recipe that's on the back, but I'm excited to try it. Cause apparently it's a yummy recipe. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
One thing about getting pre-ground flour that's whole wheat or whole grain, as soon as you grind that, you start breaking down the
You
oils.
lose the
So,
nutritional value.
and also that oil can not be good. So,
That's true. That's why it is really good for you to grind your stuff before you bake with it. Any other, what's your favorite bread? Sourdough,
Garlic sourdough.
garlic sourdough. That's good one. Garlic and rosemary actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do a garlic and rosemary? Or rosemary and garlic?
Tomatoes and garlic. I've done that.
Blueberry white chocolate,
No. So,
banana peppers, green olives, cheddar, parmesan, and sun-dried tomatoes.
Very good.
They're all good.
That's a dessert.
We love to make lemon poppy seed muffins,
The blueberry is
sourdough.
Good.
They're
Really?
amazing, yeah.
So do you have a recipe you wanna share?
It's Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone, if anyone knows her website. Her recipes are fabulous. I need her cookbook. Does anybody own it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But
What is it, Lisa?
Lisa, I can't remember her last name.
It's just Bass.
Lisa Bass.
It's
yeah.
Farmhouse on Boone, BOONE.com, Farmhouse on Boone.
Yeah.
Farm-
And she does all sourdough, mostly with her.
Farmhouse on Boone, will you write that on there, Ken, so I can remember that too?
And I don't know about you, but don't you find that when you make muffins and other things and you use sourdough starch in it, it lasts longer on the counter? Well, you
I
probably
know.
gobbled up around as 7 kids, but I found that it lasts longer in the refrigerator or on the counter than just regular quick bread or yeasted bread. So I don't know what's happening inside, but it lasts longer, which is nice when you don't have a big family anymore.
That's true, that's true. Well, sourdough bread is a live bread,
Mhm.
and it's that your body loves it, and so, yeah, this is something we need to be good at doing. And I don't know if I'll ever, I probably will never get the big rabbit ears because I don't do the whole all white
Right.
flour, because it's just isn't in my nature to use that. Anyway, but I want to get into throwing stuff in my bread. I'm anxious to try Janae Krebs seeded bread. She says her little family loves this. So come and try some. It's just, if you're done with questions and such, then we can just start. What?
What's the rabbit ears?
Well, if you've got a loaf of bread, if you have a loaf of bread in your oven, it's just, I don't know what it is. What is it? It's just like a cool thing to do. And so here I have a little teeny tiny rabbit ear. It goes like that, because it's called spring. So in your loaf, when you get it inside the Dutch oven and you're steaming, it's supposed to go.
Oh, okay. Amy Schultz does that, and I have to cut it off to get it in a sack.
That's a sin. Anyway, if we're done, you guys can come up, and I brought my toaster,
She's been waiting 10 years for yours.
and you guys can have some bread. Or you can just take some home with you. I'm happy to share it. So if you don't have any bread in your house, you take some home with you. Okay, any other, are we done, or seeing your little? Oh, this is salt. It's from France. What's it called?
Fleur de sel.
No, this,
French.
anyway, it's coarse gray salt, if you wanna come and try some. I've been using this because it calls for it. It's coarse gray. It's from France. It's called, starts with an S. Saugron or something, salt, anyway.
Frenchish.
You could say it, Ken.
Sounds different.
I think it's all green.
Salbris?
So and you use that as salt in your bread, and if it's coarse like that, does it dissolve?
It dissolves. There's a recipe, one of the recipes is really complicated. You have to stretch and fold every 20 minutes, and you have to let it sit out for 30 minutes, and then you sprinkle your salt in it with a little bit of water, and you knead it for 4 minutes, and then you stretch and fold every 20 minutes, and then you this, and then you that, and then you this, and then you put it in the oven. It's really complicated, and I got online, and I had this one guy showing me, he says, you don't have to do the, what do they call it, autolyse, which is the stretching. And he had a different system where he rolled his out, and then he folded front, and then he fold the bottom up, and then he fold this third in and this third over, and then he just turned it over, and he made this nice little bowl. That was all the stretching he did. And it was a beautiful loaf. He doesn't use these, he uses this basket, but he doesn't use this. He just puts his flour, his rice flour in there, and then puts his loaf in there, and so when his loaf comes out, it's got these really cool lines. Yeah, so you don't have to do it this way, and you don't, and also, I gotta tell you this, I tried this one, he said, he puts his loaf on a pizza stone, he just slides it in on it with a big flat thing, and then he puts an inverted pot on over the top of his loaf. And then after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, he takes that top off and his loaf just, without being in any of these, I mean, ever being formed in these. Well, he forms it in these, but he doesn't cook it in, like,
Dutch oven.
yeah, he just sticks it on his pizza stone, and I did that, and it was fun. It's one of these. I don't know which one it is, but it turned out, but I couldn't figure out how to get a pot. He had this lightweight pot he put on it. I had just had my heavy Dutch oven inverted, so I was like, clunk. But if you can find an old pot, because he just had this old pot and his pizza stone, and that's how he did it, so.
Instead of that, you can put a pan of water in the bottom of it, and that gives you your steam.
Oh,
That's true.
In an open bake.
Yeah.
The purpose of the Dutch oven is to keep the steam in.
steam inside.
Some people will give a little spray of water to get the steam, but without, on an open bake, if you put a pan of water, about an inch of water in a 12 by 12 or 11 by 13, you will create the steam that you're creating inside the Dutch oven. And you can open bake on a pizza stone or in pans or muffins or whatever.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
You know, I heard that, but I also heard or read or something that in the electronic ovens, that if you do that steam, that can affect your electronics or something. I don't know, just something about that, so I was always afraid to do that. Now, Amy Choate has a special oven, so she can bake hers just open, cause it's made for that.
For that.
It's a steam oven.
It's a steam oven. And just as a side note, you know Teresa Fryer, she bakes on Saturday, and she has a cart of her bread every Saturday morning. Well, I don't know, you have to look on Instagram and Facebook to see if she does or doesn't. But she does all kinds of things, pretzels, sourdough, bagels, she does a lot of great stuff, and Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, I guess outside of her house, you can go.
And she goes somewhere up north to buy special flour, she told me one time.
She sells it?
She sells her bread.
She sells her bread.
Outside of her house.
Teresa Fryer sells her bread on Saturday mornings outside her home. I wonder if she goes to Sage and Plow.
No, it's
somewhere
not
else?
Sage and Plow, and it's some farther away, and she told me this one time, and I can't remember what the flour blend
No,
or
she's
whatever.
amazing.
Yeah.
She's an amazing baker. You all know, how many of you know Carl Tim?
Carl Tim?
Carl Tim. He promised he'd teach me how to make artisan bread, and then he died. And so he owes me one. He owes me one. He does. He was an amazing baker. I went to his house once to visit Jeannie, and he had this old oven, stone oven, that Horseshoe Pottery makes. And he took out this loaf of bread, and I had some, and I'm like, I said, oh, I'll teach you.
You mean Horseshoe Pottery makes the.
Yes, they make the big ovens.
Bread ovens.
I don't know what he charges for them. Has anybody bought one from him, or?
I think they're about 90, yeah.
I think they're
I think I paid 60, but they're about 90.
There's a Spring City Press.
But they're not very big enough, I don't think.
Are they not very big? I have not, I've always
Well,
thought I
not
wanted to
big
go
enough
get
for
one,
me.
but,
And I like the flat bottom, his kinda goes up.
oh, his kinds of, okay. But anyway, that's an option. So anybody, just go and start. I should have brought more knives.
Somebody ought to be sliced,
I did it, I sliced it, there's a whole bunch of bread sliced.
somebody ought to be eating.
Go,